What is going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, and as you guys know, I am a content creator for Raid Shadow Legends by Plarium, and something that people ask me all the time, and I think it's kind of funny, is what do you do for a living? Because you see me with anywhere from like 150 to 200 people watching on my stream, my YouTube videos. There's not a lot of views there, so people often say you have to be doing something besides this, and actually the answer is no. I do have a decent business background, so I kind of wanted to show you what my analytics look like and kind of the beginning on how I was able to go full-time, what I did to make sure I could do that, and some interesting things to know that probably some of the content creators for this game don't even know. So as you can see here, this is my YouTube channel. I'm sitting at 16.2 thousand subscribers, and for those of you who don't really know about YouTube, subscribers don't really mean a lot. There is some correlation between having subscribers who instantly watch your videos gives you more benefit, but outside of that, having subscribers don't mean anything. Someone can have 2,000 subscribers and 1 million views, and they're going to be making a lot more money than someone with 1 million subscribers getting 2,000 views. So in the end, the only thing that really matters is the views. Now, one thing I have done that's going to skew the analytics a little bit is I have started adding subtitles to all of my channels. We'll get into that when the appropriate time comes, but for now, this is kind of the basic rundown of my channel. I have all of these different sub-channels here. Not a lot of effort to it, nothing special about it as far as analytics go. And while I am going to be talking about how much I earn, not just on the YouTube platform, but on all the platforms, I do want to start with one of the most interesting things that people like to look at. And that is the geography of my viewers. Who is actually watching me? Now, a lot of people would assume a lot of English-speaking people watch me. Part of the reason why I did get into subtitles is because, as you can see here, I'm looking strictly at the last 28 days as far as a metric goes. You have 100,000 people from the United States, Germany 24,000, United Kingdom 23,000, so the next 4 categories almost equal or surpass who's watching me from the United States alone, which is why I felt it necessary to, just because English isn't your first language shouldn't mean you should be limited from watching me and my content, so I'm doing my best to put in that little extra effort to make sure you guys have subtitles. So what I want you to do is leave a comment below, let me know where you guys are watching from, because while YouTube metrics is one thing, it's nice to know who's actively commenting on my stuff, just so I kind of have an idea on that. As I mentioned, I did recently activate subtitles, so I'm assuming these numbers are going to change rather quickly in the future. Possibly the United States numbers, while they may increase, the difference between United States and the rest of the world is probably going to get a lot closer, with me giving people that option to be able to watch in their more comfortable language. And if you've been watching me for a long time, you know that I do speak relatively slow in my videos, and most of that was because of early comments when I first started out YouTube, with people saying, "Hey Murder, English is actually my second language and it's really hard to understand you. So if you wouldn't mind, could you slow down a little bit so I could learn?" And it kind of just stuck, and I got into this habit of doing that, which is why, in case you're wondering, I do talk a bit slower in my videos than I normally would when I do on my stream. So really quickly, I'll scroll down just in case you see where you're from, where you're representing from. Like I said, this is just the past 28 days. If I did go to lifetime, you know what, let's just do it just for the heck of it. Let's take a look at my lifetime views here. As we can see, 29% from United States, Germany rocking the hard second, so shout out to you guys. We have the UK, France, Canada, Russia, Spain, Australia, Sweden, just to list a few out, and going all the way down, we have Lithuania on the bottom. There are more places that are represented on this. As we can see, it is showing only the top 50 results, and there's up to 500 results here, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Something I don't really do normally is look at my YouTube analytics, because while it can give you a decent direction on where your channel is going, you can also start getting obsessed with analytics, and it can do more harm than it can do good on your channel. So now let's go ahead and swap this back to last 28 days. Let's take a look at viewer age. Would you have guessed this is what my viewer age looked like? Now, I know a lot of other content creators who kind of focus on different things like shard pulls, early game stuff like that. Some of their analytics probably won't look like this. I definitely aim for that more knowledgeable, trying to push the game to the limits bracket there, so I'm definitely hitting a lot of the higher age categories. And huge shout out to my 65+ year olds. It's awesome seeing you guys are actually watching. And so as we can see, the target market for me is kind of 25 to 34 and 35 to 44. decent amount of 18 to 24, slightly lower than the 45 to 54, and then a very, very small amount of 13 to 17-year-olds watching my channel. And what's funny is something that I also did a little bit of research, and especially when I was in college, I did study psychology, and the average viewer duration actually aligns up exactly with what you would expect out of a psychology course. The older you are, the more likely you are to watch more of any video that is actually sent out by any YouTuber in general. And next, that brings us to our gender breakdown of the channel. As we can see, it's dominantly on the male side of the spectrum. However, I do have that 3% female viewer base waiting for me to drop my skincare routine and my hair care routine. Don't worry guys, I notice you. I know you really don't care about Raid, so maybe sometime in the future I will consider doing something just like that. Now, something that I found interesting that I personally didn't look into before is the device type people are actually watching me on. And I thought this was kind of interesting because I would have expected computer being the highest, but I guess since there is that correlation between this being a mobile game originally, then moving on to Plarium Play, there could be something there, but I did not expect the majority of people watching me to be on the mobile phone. Personally, I've never watched YouTube on my phone, so this is kind of a hard metric for me to wrap my head around. Not that I had to do anything specific to cater to this type of crowd, but I just found it interesting that mobile's at 47%, compared to the computer, which is 38%, followed by TV, tablet, and game console if you want to watch MurderInc HD on the big screen. And now, after looking at that, going back to the slightly less specific analytics for my channel, we have a breakdown of the audience here. We have 3.8 views per viewer, which is kind of the goal of my channel, and I'll explain that in a second. It has to do with rewatch potential and the type of videos I release. Instead of releasing a video that someone's going to forget about after a week and a half, whatever it may be, something that someone can continually use as a guide, coming back to and rewatching it multiple times. As mentioned before, you do see the subscriber bell statistics here. While I'm inside and on the lower end of the threshold here, this doesn't really matter a lot to me, because as mentioned, the only thing that really makes you money on YouTube are the views. Subscribers don't matter a lot. Then you have this graph here that kind of shows you the activity level of the people who are watching you, which is another point. This isn't really relevant information, since no matter when you drop a video, it doesn't really matter. There's still that 24-hour cycle where people will be able to see your video. And with most YouTubers seeing a metric kind of like we have here, where based on my watch time, 56.6% of people who watch me aren't subscribed to me, 43.3% are, which means that this whole table of when your viewers are on YouTube doesn't necessarily relate to the people who aren't subscribed, since it's constantly changing as far as who are watching my videos and who isn't watching my videos. Which now brings us to our final point. How much am I actually making per month? As we can see there, $2,200. The pay cycle for YouTube isn't over yet, so this will probably get up to around 2.3, 2.4 per month. Now, obviously, a metric like this definitely isn't enough money to live off of, especially for where I'm currently living. But there's a lot more to this number than you can actually see just based off looking at this. So there's kind of one important thing you have to know, something called CPM. It's the amount advertisers are willing to bid to put advertisements onto your channel. Now to the point I was talking about, where I think a lot of content creators don't realize the specifics about Raid Shadow Legends. They have a massive ad campaign going on at the moment right now. What does that mean? That means that strictly playing Raid, being a content creator for Raid, we are getting paid so much more money for making YouTube content on this specific game than you would anywhere else. The average YouTuber makes around $2 per 1,000 views on YouTube, which does not equal, based on the views that I have, 2.2 grand a month. A lot of times you'll see YouTubers who have 1 million views only getting $500 or $600 for that video. That is because of the content they're doing. Gaming does have a rather high threshold, but still not as high as Raid Shadow Legends specifically. And like I said, this comes down to the marketing Raid is doing. So one thing I could be doing and that I don't do is aiming for the highest CPM possible, which at the moment I believe is like 50 CPM for a Raid Shadow Legends video. Probably not a lot of content creators are doing it because it's not easy to do. It has to do with getting multiple ads in, where I only really play one ad in between all my videos. It's something I've played around with in the past, and I felt like simply aiming to always hit that one ad, because if another thing you may not know, ads aren't always shown to viewers. I want to say about 30 to 40% of people actually see ads in between their videos based on the bidding system and how it works. If every single person to watch my video did watch an ad, these numbers for every YouTuber across the platform would be significantly higher. So with that being said, we just talked about CPM. My CPM personally is rather low because, like I said, while other YouTubers try to get in a certain amount of ads and try to make people watch to hit that second ad mark, I usually target one ad specific spot based on the psychology I know, where you hit something called this viewer fatigue point, where regardless of how interesting the topic is, watching something based on the human attention span, there's always that time where you kind of take a deep breath, your eye leaves the screen. That's normally the best time to place an ad. That is where I place all of my ads personally, and I don't elect to place a second ad. If I did do this, my CPM would probably be closer to that 30 or 40 mark per video. However, that's not really what I'm aiming to do. So why am I explaining this? Once the ad campaign comes to an end for Raid Shadow Legends, based on what you see on YouTubers paying streamers to play this game, because obviously all campaigns do have an end. So what's going to happen is all of the YouTube money we're making is going to drop like people wouldn't believe if they didn't prepare for this to happen. Now obviously we have no idea when the campaign's going to end, so it's kind of up in the air, but if I'm going to be doing this full time, I cannot bank my full-time profession on not knowing when a campaign is going to end, because it's going to have possibly really bad effects for me in the long run here. So now that you see what I make per month on YouTube, and I suppose I could consider doing something in the future where I do aim to put that second ad, and if people who enjoy my content enough decide to watch the video all the way through, I can give them something else to give myself a little extra bump in making some more money going forward. But as you guys have known from watching me, whether on YouTube or Twitch, I'm not really in it for the money. I do this because I have fun, and it so happens that I can make a living from this on top of that. So the question is, how can I do this full time, since obviously this is not enough to cover my expenses? So what this comes down to is rather simple if you think about it. I do stream. I'm not huge on Twitch, like I mentioned. I make over $1,000 every single month on Twitch, no matter what, whether I stream a ton or stream a little. The minimum's always $1,000. So there's $1,000 there added to whatever I make on YouTube. Now the next part of my income is the highest part of my income that some people may know about, some people may not know about, but this is kind of what I built my entire content creation around. And maybe you've guessed by now, but what that is account takeovers. Now I make more money in account takeovers than I do on YouTube each month. So that alone is my safety net of a metric that really doesn't fluctuate at all, because people are always looking for account help, and usually they come to me seeing the type of end game stuff I do, seeing how I push the game to the limit. So it's really easy for me to take a look at any account, whether you're extremely end game, whether you're very early game. It takes me an extremely low amount of time to do what I have to do to your account. Sometimes I do use it on Twitch for some additional content if things aren't as active in what I can personally do on Twitch. My main source of income will be the account takeovers. So now I have account takeovers in Twitch here. YouTube is right here for now. And instead of flipping the switch, investing all of my time into YouTube, putting out tons of video every day, making sure the videos are 20 minutes long so I can hit 2 or 3 ads in that time, and I can definitely boost this number to at least double what you're currently seeing per month here. The problem is, once that marketing campaign adds, I'm not willing to let that main source of income drop low enough to where I could actually be financially in trouble. So I kept everything outside of YouTube as my high point and YouTube as my low point focus for now, until I can either spread to a different game, somehow broaden my YouTube experience, and do something like start selling things on YouTube, which brings me to my next point. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me about merchandise for a long time. Merchandise is something I'm going to make, however it's going to have nothing to do with Raid Shadow Legends, that I can guarantee you. So for a little bit of information on me, I'm someone who I really like looking good in the clothing that I wear, and I'm not going to make something that I wouldn't wear every single day. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using like what I do in Raid and putting it on a shirt, trying to sell it, I'm going to use this to my advantage to actually launch a brand through my YouTube content. Something that is for all gamers, that's going to look really cool, that you're going to be proud to wear, and when someone sees it, it's not going to have any reference to Raid Shadow Legends where they don't know what it means. They're just going to see it and say, wow, that looks really cool. And this is kind of a way to support me, but also to get something you're going to use every single day and you're going to get some value out of, because it's not just about me here. You have to make sure that whatever you're paying for, you're actually getting use out of. So this is something I've been thinking about for a while. As far as what type of items I'm going to have, it's going to be like a sweatshirt, t-shirt, tank top, possibly a mask, since it does look like this pandemic is going to stick around for a while. So as mentioned before, I'm going to make something that's not really unique to me, but it's unique to gaming, and it's going to look visually appealing for everybody, so you can wear it and people won't be like, maybe it's an inside joke that I don't get, and have it related to something that most people won't be able to relate to. Now, with all of this information being said, I do also want to bring up that there's actually a second game that I'm playing, I'm really enjoying, and I'm going to be releasing a video on that, showing you what the game is. And it's going to be the first game that we can actually play together, since obviously I'm in Gods and Legends. I don't have the opportunity to make a clan in this game. Obviously I could use like a fourth alt or something, but still it's not going to be the same. So I want to do something where I can actually communicate with the viewers, play with them, because you guys are really awesome, and kind of go through that experience together of playing a new game together, working through the system. And for anyone interested, I can tell you that this game is much more free to play than Raid Shadow Legends. That's kind of the big draw for me in having this as the second game, especially now that things are getting very expensive in Raid, and based on where I'm at in the game, kind of all of the money I'm spending in Raid isn't really getting me anywhere, since I already have a lot of what I do have. So I've been slowly moving to this second game, as far as where I'm probably going to start spending a little bit of money. And what I can tell you so far is I spent money as soon as I downloaded the game, and I haven't had to use any yet, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. So I'm excited to get that video out. There was some type of sponsorship deal, but I did make sure that I enjoyed the game first. I actually had a conversation with them 3 weeks after I started playing the game. So that was the thing that kind of wrapped me in and saying, you know what, I think it's time to push this as a second game so I can play together, make a clan with my viewers, call it Murder Squad or something, and we can all play together, and it's not just me having a ton of knowledge in a game and trying to give back. It's all of us learning together and going through that process to make it a lot better for everybody. Alright guys, so that's my video today. Let me know what you guys think. Was this something you already knew about YouTubers? Did you already know that a YouTuber who gets 1 million views could be making $600, but someone who could be getting maybe 50,000 views or 100,000 views in Raid can actually make the same amount of money as someone making that views, just because we are playing this game with such a high market for the amount of ads being placed here? Was anything surprising to you about the income that I do have based on content creating? Obviously, I don't really think this YouTube is that impressive as far as what I make on YouTube, but obviously if you add up YouTube account takeovers, the revenue I get from Twitch, on top of people who tip me on Twitch, which I didn't really talk about because that's kind of an inconsistent number, but all of those things together, I am making a healthy living, which is kind of shocking when you go back to it and look at such a low subscriber count for a content creator like myself. So lucky enough, like I said, I had a decent business background. I was able to use that to build up on how I wanted to approach this whole content creating, and I honestly didn't do it in the most optimal way. I actually quit one day kind of out of the blue, and I said, okay, I either starve or I actually start putting an effort and actually make it into this YouTube content creation world. So that's what led me to making some of these crucial decisions to make sure that I'm not only making now, but I'm going to be making money well into the future with this, regardless of what happens with any ad campaigns. If there's a sudden collapse in Raid altogether, I'm going to be set, and the things I set in motion from day one are the reason why that stays to be true. As always guys, thanks a bunch for watching. If you like this content, feel free to subscribe. Even though we just talked about subscriptions, it does make me look better, I guess, and looks definitely means something if you're a new player and you see someone with 100 subs compared to 100,000, but obviously reputation means a lot as well. So my goal is definitely to make the MurderInc raid name mean something. So if you feel like subscribing, go ahead and do that. Turn on that notification bell so you know when my next video comes out, and I look forward to seeing you all when I reveal the second game that I'm playing, to see if we can get you involved in that so I can have more interaction with the community that's actually watching me.